Ciao e benvenuti alla guida per tutti a tavola. In this video, we will explain how to use this open educational resource and how you can personalize it and make it yours. First of all, we are so happy to welcome you to our Italian tavola. The authors of this book are Stacy Giuffre and Melina Masterson. We have been teaching Italian at the University of Massachusetts Amherst for the last several years after teaching at a variety of other schools, small and large, public and private, in the Northeast. Throughout our teaching careers, which have spanned a collective 30 years, though we are not old, we have taught with almost every textbook currently on the market. While there are a lot of amazing pedagogical resources out there, we had never found a textbook that could serve the needs of all of our students in terms of cost and representation. This project was made possible by an open educational resource grant from the University of Massachusetts Libraries, in addition to other research funds from the Massachusetts Society of Professors and the UMass Center for Teaching and Learning. It was written entirely during the COVID-19 pandemic and mostly from a distance, which ended up being the true motivator for the project. When it was suddenly not possible to connect with friends, students, and colleagues in a physical space, the need for community and inclusivity seemed more pressing than ever before. As a result, not only did we create this resource that is designed to be a point of connection for others, but this collaboration for us personally also provided much needed connection, purpose, and levity in a time of unprecedented isolation. In writing this book, our goals were to reduce costs for students in the hopes of making Italian a more inclusive language learning experience, as well as to offer the opportunity to learn about Italian language and culture to a more diverse group of learners. This new open educational resource is for elementary Italian specifically. It's intended to be comprehensive, user-friendly, inclusive, and cost-effective. Tutti a tavola has 2 volumes. We're looking at volume 1 in this image, one for each course, with 6 chapters in each. Generally speaking, each chapter addresses 3 to 4 grammatical topics and includes a vocabulary section related to a cultural theme. The vocabulary is also incorporated into the grammatical presentations and exercises. Each chapter contains a reading in English regarding different aspects of language and culture to address those questions of diversity and inclusion that are often missing from the textbooks we have used in the past. In Volume 2, each chapter also contains a short, authentic reading to introduce students to reading in Italian. To include more culture, we have also included multimedia. Each chapter begins with a song that is used as a starting point for the inductive presentation of the chapter's content and ends with a video, a film clip, an interview, social media that summarizes the ideas covered. So again, we're looking right now at the cover page at the table of contents, and you can see the license Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial. Because this is an open educational resource, it means just that. This book is for you to use. The attribution means you need to attribute it to us, and the non-commercial means that you cannot sell it. But otherwise, you can adapt this book as you see fit, and at the end of this presentation, I will explain how to do that. You can also download this book in various formats, EPUB, digital PDF, and a print PDF, if you need that for your purposes. So now we'd like to show you the book and how it works. If you can see on the left-hand side here, the contents page shows you everything that's in it. Starting with the pronunciation guide, this is a narrated PowerPoint that explains the ins and outs of pronunciation in Italian. It's a very good resource for your students to continue to go back to. And it was featured in both volumes of this text. Now, if we click on the main body, this is where you see how the chapters are divided up, 1 through 6. Then we have glossary. Glossary is not necessarily a comprehensive vocabulary list, but rather it is a collection of all the words that we have highlighted within the text. So this platform that we use, Pressbooks, allows us to gloss words. And so the glossary is the collection of all the words that are glossed throughout the text. So it's not necessarily an entire vocabulary list for the entire book, but it's all the glossed words. And then we have a series of appendices that just present the grammar points in their own right with conjugation charts and explanations in English. Now let's look at an example of a sample chapter. We'll do chapter 2. Every chapter starts with the obiettivi per il capitolo. So we have the goals of this chapter. At the end of this chapter, students should be able to, and this is followed up at the end of the chapter where we have a review of the chapter that reiterates these points to make sure that students have achieved them. Then we have an open inductive listening activity in the form of a song with exercises below, leading into the vocabulary section. In this case, we also had a wonderful graphic designer who created a lot of the images that we have here. And if we keep going down, then we have the exercises. The exercises are arranged in a way that's meant to teach students how to learn. All right, they're scaffolded to start with individual activities that are sometimes very rote, into getting more and more complicated pair and group activities that are more communicative in their nature. And all of the sections have this kind of scaffolded purpose. So every chapter has about 4 grammatical structures, sometimes more, sometimes less, all with exercises, grammatical explanations in English, charts to follow. We have study tips throughout that explain to students how they can go about becoming better foreign language students. There are images. We also have here inductive presentations of the grammatical points, which we have answers to at the end of each chapter, which I'll show you in a minute. Here's another study tip. We also have cultural notes, we see in the green. These are interspersed throughout. So that covers the grammatical part, and then each chapter features this guardiamo section, which is usually a film clip. In volume 2, the leggiamo section with the authentic readings in Italian comes before this. And then we have a punto culturale, which are usually articles in English that really stress themes that are not typically represented in Italian language textbooks. This is a perfect case in point with racism in Italy, racism in soccer. That is followed up by this ripasso del capitolo, which takes back the obiettivi del capitolo at the beginning, when we said students will be able to, and this is now you should be able to. And each section includes this prove it verification, where students can actually answer the questions directly through the platform, and they are auto graded. So there's also this option for students too. Then we have the vocabolario. If you notice in the Italian section, all of the words are blue, which means that you can click on them and hear them. So we have an audio portion to this. It will open up another file where students can check the pronunciation. And then finally, it ends with the answers to the inductive activities from the chapter previously. Right? And this is basically what every chapter looks like. Now that we've explained how we have envisioned the use of this book, here's how you can make it your own. First of all, we created this book to be UMass specific and intended for an adult audience. And by adult, we mean university level students. So if you want to personalize it and perhaps make the themes more appropriate for middle or high school students, you absolutely can. Okay, this is the point of an open educational resource. It is open to you. So to do this, you first need to have a Pressbooks account. Pressbooks is this platform that we use to create the book. A lot of your schools might have access to this already. Once you have your account, you go to My Books, which is right here, and you click on Clone a Book. All right, you will then enter the source book URL. All right, for volume 2, you just change that 1 at the end to a 2, and then whatever you want your target book URL to be, if you want to change the title, if applicable. If you do change or modify the book, we only ask that you be good OER citizens and acknowledge this in your introduction. And that's it. You can now modify and adapt the book as you wish. Pressbooks is a fairly straightforward platform to use if you have familiarity also with WordPress or any of this similar software, but it might take some trial and error to use it if you're not familiar with it. Our library at UMass was a great resource in the creation of this OER, so it's possible that your institution also has a Pressbooks expert in the library to consult in your adaptation of this resource. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for this book, or if you would like information on ancillary materials such as the workbook, please contact us at tuttavola@gmail.com. Okay, that's tutti a tavola, but instead of the asterisk, it is a period. Thank you so much.